Yes. So I'm Valentin David. I work for Codethink, and today I will talk about GNOME OS on real hardware. So what I mean by real hardware is not virtual machines. When I talk about GNOME OS, I have to click here. Okay. When I talk about GNOME OS, usually the first question is, what is GNOME OS? Yeah, sorry about the green screen. I don't have the process for that. This is GNOME OS is a bootable image of GNOME without the distribution, directly of GNOME with the OS. That is used. That can be used for release and continuous builds. That can be helpful for application developers to be able to test their application in the next release, upcoming release. It can be helpful for testing the release itself. For the user experience, it can be nice not to have any branding from the distribution, and also it can be also nice when we want to test some hardware, and not having the distribution helps also to be able to choose the dependencies we need for doing this. The idea goes a bit further. So this GNOME OS, the idea of GNOME OS is not that young. Let's see. There was a first implementation of GNOME OS, which is GNOME Continuous. It was done by Colin Walters. GNOME Continuous is several things. It's a tool to build GNOME OS, and it was also the manifest that describes how to build it. It was based on image that was built with Yocto, so it didn't build from bottom. One thing that was interesting from GNOME Continuous is that this is the start of OSTree and automated updates, which is instead of having package management. So there was a question I saw in the chat before about what package manager it uses. That's OSTree is for GNOME OS. So it's not packages, you just update your whole OS. So it's a bit the same as Silverblue. But there was one issue of GNOME Continuous is that it was adding one more set of metadata for how to build stuff in GNOME. So we had the release that was done using GHBuild, and then Flatpak came with SDK, which was built with Flatpak Builder, and then there was GNOME Continuous. So instead of building different things with different tools and different descriptions that were maybe not always matching, the release team has transformed this into using Upstream, and there are two talks. You can find videos. One is from 17, one from 18, from Tristan and Michael about the migration of the release team metadata to Upstream, and there will be a talk on Friday by Abderrahim. So if you have more question about Upstream, you should probably join this one, because it's probably be more details about how Upstream is used there to build. So when there was this migration, the GNOME OS has been rewritten completely. When I started to touch the GNOME OS, it was built with Upstream, not the GNOME Continuous. It was just something that was started to work on VM, and but then I started to try to move things a bit forward so that we can go towards something that works on hardware and things that get tested a bit more. So what is there in GNOME OS? So here I will describe some features about what it does. Maybe you don't know everything, and but if you know, it will give you some indications. So first, it boosts on UEFI with systemd boot. So because it's probably something that works on many machines, and and it's something that is also a bit more portable. The initramfs, for those who know what it is, is built generated with Dracut. There is a graphical boot using Plymouth, and this uses a BGRT theme. So this is a theme that looks a bit like what the design team wants. So probably they want to look into this and tweak that to get exactly what they want. The boot uses systemd. Of course, it's a dependency from GNOME. There is GNOME Core, so the core applications. But there is no non-core applications. There is Flatpak for all the other applications. So if you want to test an application on it, you will have to use Flatpak. There is no X. There is Wayland, but there is also X Wayland, so that X application, like X11 application, can run. This is important to have X Wayland because there are still a lot of applications using X11 and lots of applications on FlatHub, especially, even though many support Wayland, they are not enabled. So it's something people should look at their application and try to enable Wayland because they can't support it. It comes with the Mesa drivers, so many graphics card will work. If you have an NVIDIA card, it will work with Nouveau. If you want the NVIDIA proprietary drivers, we will talk about that a bit later, but it's not there. Of course, the first boot starts with a GNOME initial setup. So it's the full story of GNOME, and the first boot will also resize the root partition, so you can just put that on any disk and just resize. As I said before, it uses, like in GNOME Continuous, it uses OSTree for atomic update. So there is no package management. It's just we update the word tree. And we added Endless OS Updater, which can be used by GNOME Software to deal with this. So you can just make an update nicely in GNOME Software. So I wanted to look at trying to boot that on hardware. So first I looked at ARM, and the first thing I tried is I got a Pinebook Pro. So it's a laptop which is on ARM, which is very cheap. And to me, it was a nice thing to just play with, to try to see, can I actually boot this on real hardware? And I worked also on, because I had some other board, which is the ROC 64, to port that. And Tom Pollard helped me and did a port for Raspberry Pi 4. So the ROC 64 and Raspberry Pi, for those who don't know, this is small developer board for ARM that are cheap, and it's very popular. So the first thing that was a bit to deal with is that those boards didn't support UEFI. So UEFI, for those who don't know, it's like the bootloader that comes with your hardware normally. These don't support that, and it was not possible to boot the GNOME OS images that we had. But those boards all have different bootloaders, so it's not possible it's not that easy to just handle all of them. So but if you go for more expensive boards from ARM, you will have UEFI support. So it's this can work, but it's just in those cases it didn't work. So for those cases, you have to do something, guys. Either you use EDK2, which is a UEFI implementation, or you can also use U-Boot, which is more popular and works on more board, and also can boot UEFI. The firmware is not part of the OSTree, so it's part of only of the initial image. So it's this firmware that we will use to just boot. We have to put it somewhere in the disk. This will never be updated. So that means that we will need to have different images for the different boards, but this is not a big issue. The OSTree repository will be the same, so we will have to only handle one. But there is a problem, is that it's not always true. But I will talk about that later. So in ARM board, there is also another thing, is that there's something called the device tree. So we need a description of what the hardware is, so that the Linux kernel know what it can use. It cannot just discover all of it like that. So there's something that needs to be described. This is on a PC computer. On a PC, there is something. There are tables that comes on the computer that the kernel will be able to load and figure out what there is. But for many ARM board, there is no such thing as this, and we have this thing that is the device trees, which is a file that comes with the kernel, which is a bit weird thing. And also OSTree doesn't really support that very well, the updates. So you need to have lots of device trees for lots of different boards, which is a bit difficult to handle. But thankfully, this can be hidden by the UEFI firmware, and this can just provide this Linux kernel. So this is something that we can hide behind. But the question is, after, how do we handle the updates of this firmware, because we have something that the manufacturer didn't provide, a way to provide this device tree that we provide, and we would have to handle this. That this is something I don't know. So another problem is that these boards don't use upstream kernels, except one. There was a Rock64, which is a good thing, but many of the boards that get out, they don't work with the upstream kernel, and it takes quite a lot of time before it happens, and sometimes it never happens. This is really annoying, because the OSTree provides one kernel for one architecture, and having to support like dozen or 20 boards, you would have to have 20 kernels. That means 20 different trees, and also 20 different kernel configuration, which is not very nice. So I think that there are people who are looking at trying to handle that. So that would be nice to have a solution, but for the moment, maybe we should just forget about the idea of supporting such boards. You don't have a mainstream kernel, then we forget about it. How well does it run? Well, the ARM processor, they range from very slow to very powerful, and that means that not all ARM processor will work. So the case of the Pinebook Pro and the Rock64 and Raspberry Pi, there are cheap things, but it runs well. It's usable. It's very nice. But we had a test on the Raspberry Pi 3 before, but that had too little memory, and just to start GDM, you need more than 256 megabytes. So if you have only the double of that of memory, you probably don't have enough to do anything else, and that doesn't work. So if you want to try to run GNOME OS, you need memory. And also note that those boards, we had some video acceleration, so that looked fine, and it was usable, the video as well, the playing videos on the internet, for example. But this is not always that might not always working well. So when I submitted for this talk, I just managed to get the Pinebook Pro to work, and I was thinking, oh, I will use that until Guadec comes, and I will just report on my my usage, what I managed to do with it, and what I needed to fix to make it work. But the truth is that I don't like this thing, because even though it works fine, it's not snappy as a PC. So what I decided is that I just installed GNOME OS on all the computers I could find. So I could not use anymore any other distribution. Well, I use for server machines that I have at home, but anything that is desktop or laptop, I put GNOME OS, and I was forced to use it every day for all my tasks. So if there is a bug, I should fix it, because I can't I would be stuck. So the first thing to do this is something that I started before doing this installation, and starting to work on making a ISO installer. So the image that provide is it's made mainly for a VM machine. So you just give that to the VM and you can use it, and it's already installed. But if you wanted to put on the hardware, you would have to unplug the disk and just flash it, and it's not practical, really not practical. So so I worked on making a bootable GNOME that is with less things, and just added one application, which is Endless OS installer, as a proof of proof of concept. That was a mistake. Yes, and Endless OS, I mean, it's not a very well finished product, but it's I'm talking about the installer, not Endless OS. So Endless OS is fine, but the installer is not that nice. It's based on GNOME initial setup, but it's very simple, and it's exactly what we needed. But I think someone needs to look into that and to do something a bit better, maybe from that, or go back from GNOME initial setup and try to add some things, some support. This is not merged yet, but there's a branch, and this can build, and you can get an image for that. So my experience with it. First of all, does GNOME Core work? Most of the application work. There is some exception here that I have. So there are things that I fixed. For example, builder that needed to have Flatpak builder. Boxes depends on libvirt, and the way libvirt was built at first was missing lots of dependencies, so nothing worked. And tracker 2 was broken, so that means that photos and music were not working, but most of the other applications were working. There are still some things that are broken that I found. There probably other stuff that is broken, but in my use is what I found. Orca for visually impaired people, so it's a screen reader. This is not working, and I would need help there. Someone should look at that. I think there's some problem with Wayland, but I think there's other problems. This is a bit annoying to not have this working, because I think it's a very important piece of software here. Web and video, they work, but they are missing some codec because of issue with patents, and we need to find a way to download and install from Cisco servers. Then I wanted to do this talk through Epiphany, GNOME Web, but when I tried it today, I just figured out that the microphone and webcam didn't work, and it was a bit too late to rebuild WebKit. So now I'm using Firefox. I'm on GNOME OS, by the way, because of course you have noticed that before I said that I've changed all my computers to use GNOME OS. So I'm currently using GNOME OS. Let's see, next page. There are other things that I needed to fix. The power management was broken. There was missing integration. This is another thing that you don't necessarily see when you use a VM, because you don't have really power management. The printing was not working. I mean, who would have the idea of using a VM and try, I want to try to print? This is something we completely forget about printing. But in my professional life, I need to print sometimes. And I will discover, but we don't have printing. So this was not that easy. So for the moment, there's PostScript printers working. There's probably other printers that work, but I didn't test that. But I don't buy printers that are really weird, need really weird drivers. So if you have this kind of printers, maybe that can be helpful. There were small things like Flatpak portals were missing the GTK, were missing for GTK. So some Flatpak application didn't work. For the hardware, there were lots of things to fix. The Bluetooth was not there. The Wi-Fi didn't work. And by the way, I mean, the Wi-Fi is very important to fix, and because if you want to be able to test things like GNOME initial setup on GNOME OS, you need the Wi-Fi because to have the full story, it's very important. The sound and microphone, like you can hear me now. I hope the microphone works. That was a bit not as easy. I mean, so details about, for example, how to get sound through HDMI. This is not always obvious. Touchscreens. I have some two laptops that works with touchscreen. Touchpad will work. You think that maybe touchpad is easy, but that's easy when it's PS2 or USB. But I have when it's I2C, it's not that obvious. And but I think a lot now work. Probably many don't work. And webcams, you can see me now. It works. So that was tested and it's being tested right now. For the development. So I needed to develop GNOME OS on GNOME OS. So GNOME OS is built with BuildStream. So I needed BuildStream. BuildStream is not a part of GNOME OS. So what do? I make it a Flatpak. This is a problem because Flatpak is not a tool for console applications. This is made for desktop applications. That means there are lots of missing things. I don't know if it's the interest of Flatpak to fix those things. There are details that are not that easy. Consoles are not that easy in Unix. There's details that are very specific. So that was a bit of a problem. I needed tools like for programming in general. The object dump. This is very, very useful. GDB and Valgrind. Well, how do? Well, I get it through the Freedesktop SDK, through Flatpak, a thing like that. I can make this work, but it's not very nice. That's the truth. So what about Git and Flatpak Builder? Well, those are dependencies of GNOME Builder. So they come in GNOME OS because GNOME Builder cannot work without that. But when we see that, we know that there is something we have to change. So this is something we have changed recently. So we have two trees now, like GNOME Continuous had, but we didn't have that just in the beginning. So we have, so first when you install, you have the user tree. The first image has everything of Core, but it doesn't have GNOME Builder. And if you want to do development, you will have to switch your tree to something that has GNOME Builder. And also has the SDK so that it has the compiler and development tools, headers, manual pages, and things like that. So for the moment, we didn't put BuildStream in this, but I think it should be part of it because GNOME OS is built with it. Another thing that I think we should add probably is GH Builder, because I think there are still some use cases that are not covered by BuildStream that I am not completely sure. I don't use GHB, so maybe this is something. So in this SDK, there is no debug info files. So the question is, what do we do with this? And I think we should have a server that serves all the debug info files because this is very huge. We don't want to just have an image with all the debug info, but it's very nice to have them all available somewhere so we can download on demand. So we don't have that. This is something we should have. So now we stop with the GNOME experience, and now I want to talk about things a bit what I do with my computer. The first thing is gaming. So there are things that I needed is that are in GNOME OS. It's some UEFI files for SIM devices, and there's also game mode that is from Feral Interactive, which is a service that tweak your CPU performance when you play games, which is very nice for people who play games. So yes, Steam devices, VR works. I've tested it quickly, but if you want to play VR on GNOME OS, you have to be ready for a very bad user experience because Wayland doesn't support DRM leads. So that means it cannot just take over one screen, which is the screen of your VR headset. So I hope something will be fixed there. It can be used. But there is, for people who do overclocking, we are still missing things to do. I don't know voltage control. I never did that, but at least the fan control is something I've been missing. And sensor monitoring, we don't have that. But this is something that is not easy to have out of the box. So, but something we should have, that would be nice. I've used only AMD and Intel graphics. So what about the NVIDIA proprietary drivers? Because if you want to do games, Nouveau is probably not that good unless you play small games. So we have GLVND that dispatch the OpenGL the way as EGL, Vulkan, and OpenCL. So it should not be very difficult to add those. The only thing is that we need to be able to deploy software that are not part of the tree. It's the same problem as the video codec for GNOME Web, I think. So once we have a solution that we can deploy extra layers of things that don't come from OSTree, that would be really nice. How did I make these slides? I use LaTeX because I come from an academic background originally, a long time ago. I don't want to add TechLive into GNOME OS. And using through Flatpak is not very nice. So what I did, I built TechLive with Buildstream and used through a Buildstream shell, but I saw that it's not very, very nice. So this made me think that we need something there. So we don't have any OCI container system. So we have a system, the NS pawn for people who know, but this is even worse to use. In this case, it's not really the thing. I think having Podman, for example, would be very helpful. Podman is something similar to Docker for people who don't know. But it's not there, and it would be nice, maybe. Something, maybe. One last thing is that if you have a key, security key for signing things and logging, this is added. It's not enabled by default, but you can enable the user service for that. That I needed that, so it's there, but it's still something out of the context of GNOME because GNOME itself doesn't use that. So how to get it? First, should I use it? Well, first you have to know that this is still in development and there's no really documentation, and it's going to be very difficult to use. Lots of fixes that I talked before, they are not merged, so there are still things that we need to go through, and so there are still things that I said were fixed, were broken master. And also it's in master, so that means it's not a release, so it's not very stable. Each time you update, you will have things that will break. As a virtual machine, yes, soon, once we have things a bit set up, but it's moving and it's getting there, so people will be able to use that for testing. Should you use it on hardware? I don't think so, unless your point is doing like me, is try to contribute to make it work on hardware, if it's your point. Security wise, it's not very good to do that, because it's a bit tricky for them to know if you have all security patches there. The Freedesktop SDK part under we try to track. It's a detail. I will not talk about that maybe, but it's partly not. There are things that we don't track security. So, so yes, so soon we will have. This is not very well formulated. Sorry about that. We didn't have OSTree repositories yet. We are setting them up right now. So in a few days, I hope that we get something. So then you can get the update instead of building yourself and updating manually. Some builds for master you can find in the GNOME Build Meta project. If you need there is some help in the wiki. If you need some more help, you can come in GNOME OS on GIMPnet. But yeah, for the moment it might be a bit difficult. It will get easier with the time. I want to say thank you for to the release team and especially to Abderrahim, who have been reviewing lots of big merge requests that I've done that are not always that clean, because I try to go fast and and I had a lot of helpful reviews to make this much cleaner. So very nice. The work I've done in testing GNOME OS on hardware and fixing things that I found on the way is sponsored by Codethink. So just also thanks for that. That was it. So I think that I caught up with the time, and we have.
Thank you. Thank you, Valentin, for the talk, and thank you for the shout out.
Hello.
Thank you, Valentin, for the talk, and thank you for the shout out. There are on the shared notes, you can find the chat. It has been moved to our Rocket chat, and the question on Etherpad. Everybody can try to add questions to the Etherpad. It's everything is in the shared notes.
Okay. So, question: what package manager does GNOME OS use? I think I answered this question. It's no package. It's just OSTree. So you just update your whole tree. For application, it's Flatpak. There are Flatpaks for web and videos. Can they be shipped out of the box? Codecs should be present. Yeah, maybe. I don't know. This is something probably we should ask Michael about that. I mean, I could test also that it works, maybe. Have you considered development tools like Podman, Toolbox, for example? So Toolbox, I don't know. Maybe it might be useful, but Podman, yes, I think we need to have that. Kind of basic Python environment, pip. So there's pip in the SDK. So if you have the development thing, you should have pip. Is that enough? Yeah. Yes, because there's Flatpak, and Flatpak comes with what's called bubble wrap. The problem is that the newer version of Upstream will need some other dependencies, which are build box, which will wrap the bubble wrap thing. So it won't call bubble wrap directly. So we'll be missing something. So yeah. Can we use GNOME OS images for release marketing? I suppose. Yes. Can we have a little demo, please? Yes. Can we see? Where is my Penbook? I'm not sure. Let me find that. So this is a Pinebook. I hope there is battery. We'll see if there is something booting. It's probably an older version of GNOME OS. It's booting. Just to say, I wanted to do a demo on my desktop that I'm currently using, but with Wayland, it's a bit difficult because I was not able to use GNOME Web. I'm not sure if there is screencasting with GNOME Web anyway. And with Firefox, you need Pipewire 02, and I have Pipewire 03. So I think the battery is off, and I don't know where the charger is. So I will skip to the next question. Is it possible to customize the image after install via Flatpak, only via Flatpak? So you're pinned down to what there is in OSTree, but you can have your own OSTree. So this is what I do, because I need to fix things, and I make a merge request, and it goes to the GNOME build meta review. And this might take time, but I need to fix now. So I'm not using exactly what there is on master. So you can do like me if you want. This is not that difficult. If you're the kind of person who use Gen2 or something like that, it's probably very, very easy. You can compose and update. Someone has an answer. Can compose, okay. Soon. That would be interesting. Yeah, okay. So I think that was all the questions. Yeah, I'm sorry about not having a demo. That's a bit of an issue. I think if I share some, yeah, I think it's only X11 application that I can share, and the entire screen is black, so it's not something I can show. See if there is more questions. Make GNOME OS. It's possible soon. Yeah, I can do a recording. That's very easy. I think it works. I think I tested that quickly today, but I didn't see the result. But it didn't complain. Let's see. I can check if I have some videos that were. Yeah, screencast should work. So I can do that, and I can post that later. But what you will see is just GNOME. I mean, there is nothing special. I mean, the only thing that you will see is in the about, you will see it's written GNOME OS. I can show the update with GNOME Software. That might be interesting. But then you don't see the boot, the reboot. I could do, one thing I could have done is use GNOME boxes to run GNOME OS in the virtual machine on GNOME OS. The problem is that GNOME boxes right now doesn't support that because it doesn't put UEFI. I've been told that it will be fixed. So, but not today, maybe next week. Apps which are also available. This is something I don't have an answer. Maybe. I think the people who own those applications should say whether they want it in Flatpak or in GNOME OS, because I think it's true that some applications don't need that. Can we have a build guide? Yeah. I think if you, I think you need to learn to use Buildstream. That's very easy. So you have to check out the GNOME build meta, and there's some few BST command to BST build vm/image.bst, and this will build it. Yes. So there is no boxes. Yeah. I mean, we could also have OSTree that has a minimum, like, that doesn't come with any application. I mean, I don't know. This is something to discuss. I don't have any opinion about that. We don't have pre-install a Flatpak. This is something we could do. I think in theory it's possible. No. On the image, yes, because it doesn't come with OSTree. But I think we can do that. We just have to add them into the var directory. Or we need to do a deployment, find the deployment, and get the var directory for that. But it's possible. Sure, it's possible. Would be nice. I think if we get help for that, someone. I have not tested the peer-to-peer with Flatpak, or I think there's also even for OSTree, the update itself should work as well somehow, but since it has not been tested, I don't think it works out of the box. Probably some tweaks to do. Yeah. Please read the repeated questions. I'm not sure which one. for answering. Please read. I'm sorry. So the question is how useful. Yeah. I'm sorry about that. How useful would GNOME OS be at testing other software stacks such as Pipewire? I think very useful. I've been trying to test Pipewire. I wanted to test Jack, a replacement library, because one thing we want is something I do is some recording with multi-track audio, but I don't have. I don't want to use Jack itself. Pipewire would be nice. So, but how hard would it be to add OCI Podman environment to be add? So how hard would it be to add Podman? So I think it would be easy. I think we have a build of Podman using in build stream in some Docker image we have for the CI. So this we can just copy that there and build that. So we can add Podman. Would it be possible to install? Would it be possible to install OSTree based package manager like PM OSTree? Then we have to have a package manager. The problem is that you need to have the whole system to be packet managed. I think it's pretty difficult to just mix a tree that already exists without package management and just add packages. I don't think that works.
Sorry to interrupt, time is up. Please, you can continue the discussion in the chat. There is a link in the shared notes.
Okay, I will join the chat right now. Didn't have the time, but I will do that.
And thank you again for the presentation.